Hello everybody and welcome back to another writing update. I actually have no clue how long it's been since I've done one of these. I haven't really kept track. I'm not sure at the moment how interested people are in writing content on this channel, since it's sort of accidentally become majority cosplay content. But even if it's not something that a lot of people are interested in watching, I think it's still good for, at least for me, to keep a record that I can look back on how long projects took and where I was up to at what point in time. So yeah, I thought I'd give a bit of an update on where I am up to with my writing projects. Pretty close to the end is the answer. So for people who aren't familiar with me and my writing journey, I've been working on a YA science fiction survival novel for like at least 2 years now. So I finished up my 5th draft and then sent it to another lot of beta readers for reading. One beta reader has sent me through the whole thing of all their feedback. Everyone else, I've gotten one lot of feedback for part 1. The way I did it for 2 of the people I sent it to was that I sent them the document, and then at the end of each part of the book it would have a link to a Google form. I've gotten 1 Google form back so far. I think rather than waiting for all the feedback to come back, I'm at least going to start working on section 1 at the moment. And this is the 6th draft now, and I want it to be the last draft of me editing it. So basically I really need to focus on the nitty-gritty and getting it as good as I can get it, essentially. I think when you're in earlier drafts you can kind of get away with, oh, I can't really get this part to work, but I can come back through it. Now it's like, no. Everything that you write now needs to be solidified. You make the decision. This is the sentence. Because I took such a break while waiting for the beta reader feedback from it, like I started working on it again yesterday and I was like, oh, my children, how did I forget about you? It is really good to take a break from manuscripts sometimes, even though I felt so lost without it, and now I'm like, oh, I have my I know what I'm doing with my life now. So yes, hopefully the 6th draft is the last one, and then I begin the terrifying process of querying. This will be my first time querying my novel, so submitting to agents and publishers. I am not against self-publishing. I know in my head that this book most likely will be self-published at one stage. I think I just kind of owe it to myself to try traditional publishing first, because I would prefer to be traditionally published because it's sort of less risk, and even though self-publishing and traditionally publishing are just as equal to each other, especially nowadays, but I think in my head self-publishing feels like cheating for some reason. It's like, yeah, I can just like, even this draft that I'm not entirely happy with, I can upload that to Amazon and sell it as an ebook, or I can get it physically published to give myself a copy of it. And that's just wild that I can just do that myself. I am going to try querying. I don't really have any hopes really of anything happening with it, considering first book I queried, traditionally publishing takes years. I think what will most likely happen is I'll query this one, query the next one, and then I'll just jump into self-publishing, because I am impatient and I would like to actually, you know, say I'm an author instead of a writer sometime soon. I know I need to be researching more who I'm going to submit to. About a month ago I started researching. I went through like the Australian Literary Association, their list of all the current agents, and I found it very overwhelming because out of like the 17 on there, only 2 would like accept my manuscript that I was in like the parameters for. And so I kind of found that really discouraging. So I know I also need to go through like the books I have and look at sci-fi books and who published it and who was the agent for it, and look at Australian authors and who their agents were, and that there are more out there that I just need to put in the research. But I think it's that one time I did the research and I just felt overwhelmed. It's put me off it a little bit, but it will happen eventually. I need to do it. So yeah, I always had it in my head that I'd be querying by the end of this year. I kind of had it in my head that around this time I'd be querying already, but I know this novel needs to be more polished and more finished. I have things that, because I've taken a break from it, I can now recognize need to be fixed and tweaked a little bit. There's nothing major. I just need to focus more on sentence structure and grammar and punctuation and continuity. So yeah, that's all very overwhelming but very, very exciting. And so what was I doing while waiting for the beta reader feedback? Well, I was planning the next book I'm gonna write. This next book is going to be a sci-fi horror, and it's going to be adult. And I can feel that I've gotten to a stage where I'm like starting to like fall in love with it. I'm really excited and passionate about this next book now. It's really crazy how something starts as like an idea you write down so you don't forget it, and then next thing you know, you're like planning how you're gonna write it. The thing that is daunting with this next project is I'm gonna have to do a ton of research. My current project now, the YA one, I think it was very science fiction. I had a lot of creative liberty with it on what I can do in terms of, you know, how the space travel or different scientific elements worked in this world. But in this next one, it needs to feel real. I think that's really going to add to the horror element, that it feels realistic and like something that could really happen in our world. But it is going to involve a ton of research. I know the resources to educate myself on the topics I need to find out about are out there, which is good. A lot of it I can find out through the internet, especially through like NASA's live streams and their YouTube channel. It's a really good timing actually with the Artemis 2 crew happening. I can kind of take some inspiration from that. So yes, research is going to be my next big phase, because as much as I hate to admit it, I need to do my research before I write the book. I'll probably enjoy it once I'm like into it. I think just starting with research I find hardest. And then there's always the fear, because I've written an outline for this book already, that I'll find out something that I thought it worked one way but it actually works another, and then I have to like change my plot around that, which is why it's better to do it now than after I've written the book. So I'm almost finished with my like character profiles for the book. So I've plotted out the outline of the plot of the book. I'm almost finished planning out my main characters, and then it'll just be research, and then we're jumping into a first draft. It had been ages since I'd gotten to actually sit and like write something, because I've been in editing mode for so long with this other project, and then I was just in outlining for this next one. It'd been ages since I actually got a chance to just like write from scratch. And so I indulged myself a little. I let myself do some like practice writing for this next book. And I was kind of scared. I was like, I haven't like written something in ages. Do I still know how to do this? But like, I sat there and I just like wrote out like 1,500 words, and I was like, I don't want to stop. I just want to like write this book now. So it's this really good feeling, because I was like, okay, I remember how to do this with some good assurance. So yeah, it's got me really excited for this next project now as well, and I really want to get into writing it. So hopefully I will suck it up, do my research, and then we can get into it. I can definitely tell as well how much like better the first draft of this new one is going to be compared to my previous work. I think I wrote the first draft of my current novel when I was 17 maybe. Like I was still a teenager, and so like my writing has definitely evolved since then. And I think especially I can kind of get away with it in that book because it's YA. The writing can be a little bit more basic, but I think I've like evolved in my writing and leveled up now to be able to write something more sophisticated and more for the adult genre or the adult age category for this next book. So that's been really nice to see, and hopefully it means slightly less editing on the next one because I've got a better base to begin with. I think that's why I'm putting so much work into like planning it, because if I do the work now, then I don't have to rework literally everything later. The current novel I'm working on, I think I've talked about this in previous writing updates. When I say I like rewrote the second draft, everything changed in that second draft. The first draft like barely resembles the current draft at all. I don't even think you'd be able to recognize it beyond some character names that match up. So I want to try and plan this out thoroughly to avoid having to rework as much as I did on this current project for this next one. Somewhere in the middle, I want to try and like actually do some like short stories, something that maybe I can share and that, but I get so focused on these big projects that I don't really stop and do smaller short stories like I used to. I have a lot of short horror that I really want to write. It's setting time to do it because I work a job, I do YouTube and cosplay and all the other social medias, and then all my writing time goes into the big projects, and then, you know, you have to like live life and stuff. You just run out of time. So I think that's it for this current writing update. If you are also a writer, if you also have projects you're working on, I would love to hear about it in the comments below. And if you do want to see like more writing content or writing updates, writing vlogs maybe, then give the video a like so I know that people are interested in this comment, and subscribe so you don't miss it when I do. And thank you very much for watching this video. I very much appreciate it. And that's all from me. Bye!